Welcome to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show, where we're down at the headquarters of Navico, and I'm down here to talk to Craig Davis about an echo sounder and a plotter that you can actually tie into some really significant, well, you effectively become your own surveyor. You can get all your favourite fishing marks surveyed yourself, overlaid onto a mapping system, and you know all the little edges, the drop-offs, the humps, the weed beds, everything. A lot of information there. I'm not going to pretend I even know the first thing about it. Craig's going to talk us through it, and I'll tell you what, it's something you really should be thinking about. If you're a fisherman, I think it could really work in your favour. Let's go and meet Craig and see what he has to say about it. Hi there, Craig. Good to meet you.
Hi Graeme, good afternoon, welcome.
Yeah, well, what is it you're going to be teaching us today?
So we're going to take you through Insight Genesis, a new subscription. It allows you to create your own mapping, so you can go out and record all your sonar recordings and turn it into your own very own contour map.
So I understand, And you're all set up for us?
Yeah, we've got one of our sales rooms all set up. You can come in, we'll sit down at the desk and run through everything.
Let's run through it. You're all set up here in a nice warm office, but there's one bit there, Craig, that I'm a little bit bemused about, because I see you've got all the cables here. So what is that? Is that charging? Is that running this?
That is just a mains to 12 volt power pack. So you can get them from places like Maplins, they're quite easy to get hold of. And it's just literally a 12 volt supply, so we just got some cables with crocodile clips, and they're clamped onto the power cable of the HDS7 there, and it's just powering the unit as you'd have it powered up on the boat. So you can sit here in the warm and play away and get used to it.
I'm all for that. Now Craig, this really intrigues me, this little box, this power pack, because at the end of the day, it's exactly what I need as a beginner or a novice to be able to learn more about this, because there's so much in these units, it's unbelievable. I know for a fact I'm not going to learn about it all in one go. So that's definitely on my Christmas card, birthday list, call it what you like, guys. You need to get one of these. That way you don't need to go out on your boat. And I think, Craig, did you tell me you can also run those off a cigarette lighter and get the spare lead, so you can actually sit in your car and play and learn more, especially about the structure scan?
Yeah, that's right. We do some of the units have an accessory cable which comes with a little cigarette lighter adapter. So sometimes boats where you're jumping from boat to boat, they might plug it in if they've got the little 12 volt cigar lighter plug on there.
Yes, yeah.
Or even if you just want to sit in your car at home on the driveway to get away from the missus, plug it in there and hide away and have a play on the unit.
Yeah, because you can spend hours on these once you get them in a home situation. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it exactly. You can put them into simulator mode, so you get pretty much all the features that you'd see when you're on the water, and you can sit there and practice all the features of the fish finders and creating your waypoints, things like that.
Okie doke.
This is the HDS7 Touch model here. So this is an ideal unit for your small boat market. So occasionally you see these on kayaks as well, a bit big, but they do fit quite nicely, and the kayak guys do like them. And this little model is packed with loads of brilliant features. It's got, as well as being chart plotter, you've got your regular fish finder plus side imaging sonar all built in on one unit. You just have to plug your transducer straight into the back, you're away. It will give you things like tidal information as well, depending on the charts that you're using with it. So one of the brilliant enhancements with this is our new Insight Genesis subscriptions that we do, which will allow you to take your sonar recordings from this and use it to generate your own map of an area. So with Insight Genesis, you can record your data, your sonar data from the plotter onto your SD card. The data, the files that it logs aren't massive, so you're probably good with a 6 GB card. So if you've already got a chart card in there, then there'll probably be plenty of room available on that for it to load the files to. Some of the units do have multiple card slots in them as well, so it's not a problem. You can just put one chart card in one slot and a blank memory card in the other slot for all your recordings. And then from your SD card, we'll plug it into the PC here, and we'll run you through now and take you through the process of generating your own map online. So with your Insight Genesis, it's a subscription-based service. So you can buy your premium subscription. It's around about £70, which gives you 12 months of use. You can record the data upload it into your Insight Genesis account that you set up, and it will all that information is then stored there, so it's cloud-based. You can access it anywhere in the world as long as you've got your PC with you. And it will then generate those recordings into detailed contour maps, as well as with the premium subscriptions you get the ability to show bottom composition and also areas of vegetation. You don't have to have the 12-month subscription. You can, free of charge, still upload the data and view it on the PC. That's free of charge. It will just give you the nice detailed contour map. But with the premium subscription, you have the ability to then download those maps and actually load them back into the plotter. So if you're operating on an area where you don't have any map information, say lakes, rivers, things like that, you can use the Insight Genesis and actually create a map of that area.
Can you actually print it off on a printer? Let's assume, Craig, you just looked at it as it were online. Are you enabled to print it off, and you went to your mark and sort of look at it, even though it's not overlaid? It wouldn't be. You'd have to sort of guess it a bit, wouldn't you? I suppose.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't have a print facility, but because it's obviously sort of online based, some people will just do sort of print screens and just print that off and use that as a reference to go by. But obviously, if you've got your Lowrance plotter or your Simrad plotter, you can just download that information straight back onto the plotter, and you're away when you're on the boat. So you can see here we've got a couple of recordings that have already uploaded. So these are all stored. It lists them by their location, so it'll automatically work out the location that those are recorded in. And we can start to look at one of these in a little bit more detail. We'll take a look at a recording that we've done of the bridge bank just off of the Needles, because that's someone that everybody knows.
Even logs down the trip I see on the right hand column there. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It gives you a date you did it.
Yeah, so you can then, if you do multiple trips in that area, we can piece those together and merge those to make even more, to create a larger map and also bring more detail into the map. Right, so you can see here we've got our nice map of the bridge bank. So it's actually overlaid onto a Bing satellite imagery map, so you can use that as a reference. The red line that we see here is the track log so that's the course that we took on the boat. And now we actually set out to do a nice specific survey pattern so that we could get as much data as possible and produce the best quality map. You don't have to do that. You can simply just go out, do it trip by trip. So if you're traveling across to the Isle of Wight for the day or something like that, you can just slowly start to piece together. So each time you go out, you can record a log, upload it, and then what you'll be able to do within Insight Genesis is merge those multiple logs together and slowly build your map.
Now, Craig, I see you do that crisscross, and I've already got it in my mind, should I get set up with one of these units, to do that. Depending on depth, obviously, what sort of turning circle or distance would you use on those looping turns? 20 yards apart, 30 yards, 50 yards, when you're trying to establish a recording? So
we recommend it's about between 25, it's about 25 metre spacing between each leg. So you can see here, if I zoom in, we've got a couple, because there's quite a bit of tide in this area, we've got a couple of areas where we passed a bit too wide initially, but it won't predict the information. It will leave those areas blank. Now that gap there that you got blank is because the tide carried the boat away, so you didn't get a recording on it, yeah? So when we first started out, we weren't too tight with our runs. So I've got you, yeah. We've got a bit of a gap there between those. So the next time I go out, all I will do is run over this area again, possibly run in the opposite direction, and then upload that log. And you see here we've got this tab for merge trips. If I click on that, it will list any recordings that have been done in that area, and you can just simply tick them and then just do merge, and that will join all those together and then fill in all the missing blanks. Can you actually add more than one trip? So if you've done that on one day and you go back on another day and make a second one, will they join up? Is there any compatibility, or will they show as two separate, if you've missed contours there? It will join those trips up, and it will just then give you more and more detail. So the more times you pass over this area, the more definition you're going to get, and also when you do the multiple recordings, it takes into account the tidal heights at each day. So we have these data offsets here. It will automatically pick up the nearest tide station. So the more times you pass over and the more trips that you merge together, it's going to give it a better average tidal reading for your spot depth. So you see, if we zoom in here, we do have, as well as the detailed contour information, we do have the spot soundings. Now you can see one thing that I was quite surprised at, if we just zoom out a bit here, was the end of the bank. When I've passed over these areas before, if I turn the track log off so we lose the red lines,
yeah,
we've got a really big gap between the edge of the tip of the bank here.
Yeah, big cut. That should be full of fish as a fisherman, I'd have thought.
Yeah, that's what you'd hope. And we on the echo sounder and on the chart that I was using on the plotter, it didn't show as defined as that. It was actually all one thing.
Oh, I see. It was locked down on the chart as one bank, when in fact this is showing insight, showing the gap in the bank there.
Yes, that's it, exactly.
I mean, that's typical. The sort of, well, a tiny little bit of information that a fisherman needs to be, that could be a channel that is slack tide, bass or plaice or something like that, fish run through there, and that's the benefit of it. It's giving you that extra information that makes the difference between either a blank trip or a good trip.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And you can see as well here we've got quite a high point on the bank just here as well. And one of the guys that was out at this time, he reckoned that's where all the bass will sit, up on that high point there.
Up on the top, yeah. Now, what was the tide doing when you took that, Craig? Was that really strong, ebbing, flooding, or can you?
It was just coming up to high water, so it wasn't flowing as fast as it could in that area. But you can see here, as well as having the map, it also, because it's recorded the sonar data, it will overlay the sonar data next to it, so you can look here, and if you see any points that look of interest,
yes,
you can actually then mark that, and you can see here this little red dot actually shows our vessel position on the sonar recording.
That's that red dot on top of the contours there.
So that's where this line is in the history.
That's the peak. Oh, I see the white line going down.
That's the actual vessel's position overlaid on the chart at the time of recording this data.
So that's almost the peak, is where that red dot is where you took the reading.
That's it, exactly. And what we'll run through now is the process of how we go through uploading and getting this data turned into this map. So one thing I would say, Graeme, this area is it is a really tidal area. There's a lot of water flow over here, and it's pretty open to the elements as well. So if you get a bit of wind over tide there, it can be pretty tricky conditions. So you do have to really watch out for that.
Not the place for everybody, or beginners or novices, to go to.
That's it. No, you don't want to be out there on your kayaks and things like that.
Yeah.
We've got our card slot here. So this on here, we've actually got a recording that we took with yourself when we were out on the Thames up at Shepperton. And we'll see what sort of map we can produce from that information. So I'll just put it into my little SD card slot. So with Insight Genesis, there's a nice simple bit of software that you have to download called the Insight Upload Tool, so Insight Genesis Upload Tool. And all you do is we'll go in, select files, and this will then take you, we'll just select the card itself.
Doesn't matter what class of card you use, does it? Like with photography, you need a class 10. No, it doesn't matter.
Just as say, you're not going to be using a card that's of too large a size. I mean, a 6 GB card is going to be plenty. So the files that you'll be looking for will end in this SL2 format. This one I named because we were up at Lyndon Lewis. I named that when on the plotter itself. When you start the recording, you can give it a name. So if we open that, it will appear here. And we have this option here for keep private. We'll come on to that later on because we're going to be rolling out a social side of this, so you'll be able to share your mapping with other users. But yeah, so if we tick keep private, that means that I don't want to share it with anyone. And then we just hit upload, and it will start to process this map. And in about 10 minutes time, you'll get a message to say that the map has been created for you. So you can see here that it started to process that, and we'll get a notification in about 10 minutes time to say the map has been created. Now this is a process you can still do without having to have the subscription, but all it will give you is the ability to review the map on the PC. We won't be able to dive into and change around as many settings as we will be able to in a minute with this map. Okay, Graeme, so we are logged in onto our Insight account here now. Now if you click on the Insight Genesis option here, it'll bring up all of the uploads. So we can now see it's processed our recording, and it's already named it River Thames. So if we click down on the drop down here, hopefully, yep, there we are, it's got our recording. So if we click view trip now, we should get the map start to appear. Okay, so here's our map that it's created. It was only a little short 10-minute trip out onto the water, but it looks like we managed to get a nice bit of information. So this is the contour map as such. So it looks like we've got two pretty big sized holes here on the in the riverbed. Now what you'll see, what I can do is we've got the red track log here from the route that we took. We can just turn that off by clicking on the track option. Now if I click onto contours here, we can actually adjust the level of contour data. So if I change it to 1 foot, this is going to show basically spacing of 1 foot between the contours. So we'll just let that draw. I'll zoom out a bit as well.
And that's overlaid on a traditional...
it's using Bing Maps, so it's overlaying that information on there. So if we, let's zoom in a bit here. So you can see it's really ramped up the contour information now.
Yeah, a lot more.
Almost too much for that. But in some areas on the flat ground, you'd probably put it up to that. But because we've got some pretty deep holes here, around about the 3 to 5 foot spacing works quite well. So if we put it to 3, it'll clear that up nicely.
Yeah,
there's two nice holes there. I think you were saying that those would probably be a nice little hiding spot for some big pike and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So now what we can do is we have a couple of other map views. Because this is in the premium subscription, you have that ability to change that contour information. But as well as the contour map, we have the option for vegetation and composition. So if we change to the composition map, this is going to show us the density of the riverbed. So areas of hard ground and areas of soft ground.
It's going to pick up show the difference between mud and gravel?
Yep, that's it exactly. So gravel you would probably think would be sort of these areas in the darker orange. The real dark sort of orange and red colours will most likely be rock, and then the lighter areas will be silt. So you can see here it's quite a difference. As we get away from the weir, it starts to go back to pretty solid ground. And you can see we've got a big gap here where we circled round, so if we were to go out onto this waterway again, we could do a proper survey pattern and really map out that area of water really
and it would add to that one. It would, in addition, it's not like you'd have two separate maps.
No, that's it exactly. With that merge trips option, we can join those two recordings together, and it will then overlay that both together, and you'll fill in all the blanks that we see here at the moment.
So even if you're a freshwater angler, let's say you're on a lake or a big loch or somewhere, you're not going to. You could spend all your time surveying and not fishing. So the best way to do it is just to go fishing, and over 3 or 4 days or trips, just keep recording all the time, and you're building an entire map that's almost personalised to you. Then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it exactly. I mean, we've worked out, because ideally to get the really good, clear map, you want to be doing, as it says here on the bottom, we put these points that to get a really good bottom composition map, you want to be doing about 6 mile an hour. For vegetation, ideally 12 mile an hour maximum, and for your normal contour map, you can get it up to about 20 mile an hour. But yeah, if you want the really detailed composition and vegetation maps, then you want to be just keeping the speeds right down, drawing up and down. But you don't. I mean, we worked out at the slow speeds. You can probably do depending on conditions. You can do about 100 acres in an hour.
Is that right? Really? Yeah. That's a huge amount, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're fishing and you're trolling, say lures for pike or bait for pike, not only are you fishing, you're going to be recording at the same time. Yeah. So when you get a take, a strike, a hook up, it's like X marks a spot, because then you're going to know exactly why those fish are in that particular area, i.e. weed beds, drop-offs, mud or whatever.
And you got, with the recordings, you can upload a maximum of 4 hours in one go. And then, so all you would do is basically, if you went over that 4 hour limit, you'd just start another recording and upload that one as well. But I can show you the vegetation maps. I've actually got some previous recordings from a colleague out in Sweden, actually. And we can have a look at that and see...
This is freshwater, Craig?
Yeah, again, this is a big lake out in Sweden. So let's have a look. I think we've actually got it as a merged. So we've got a couple of trips merged together.
So this will show exactly detail from more than one trip?
Yeah, that's it. So this is multiple trips all joined together. So we've got about 6 trips joined together to make this map. So this was done not doing the proper survey pattern. This was just done as a going out over one part of the lake, coming back home, going over to another part of the lake the next day, fishing, coming back, and just slowly building that map piece by piece. Okay, so this is the vegetation. Now this is a lake out in Sweden. There's not a lot of vegetation, but if we just zoom in here, on top of this bank, it's actually picked up a little bit of, I don't know whether it's a bit of river grass or something like that, just a bit of green there. So it's picked that up because of it recognises the sonar profile for the vegetation.
So some sort of weed bed or something there.
Yeah, that's it. So it's picked up that. So that would allow you on the lakes and things to map out areas and see where you've got the real dense greenage, which is going to probably snag up your lures, things like that, or even hide fish. But if we have a look, we'll go out to the contour map here. So we've got the colours just to highlight a bit more. This lake, my colleague's fished this lake since he was a young boy, and he said it's quite difficult to catch fish in this area. And as soon as he got out there and mapped this waterway, he could see these defined shallow areas which he'd never picked up on before because they are quite small compared to the rest of the water that's there. And as soon as he went to those points, all the fish were hiding up on there, and he was just able to catch loads of them.
So the fish were more in the shallows when he could find them?
That's it, yeah, you can find them in the shallows. You can see down the far end, it does get quite deep with this dark blue. And you can see there's a lot of holes still. He hasn't gone out and properly done a proper survey pattern. He's just done this trip by trip, and he's just merged all those trips together.
Yeah, you can see the lines as he's gone up and down it.
Yeah. So he's done some right along the edge of the lake here, right up close to the beach.
Quite a steep drop off there.
Yeah. It's quite a long drop off, and then it just shelves right off at the very end we're down to about 57 feet there. So we are back looking at our map of the Thames that we created. So what we'll do now is we'll actually download this onto our SD card and upload and then we can view it on the plotter itself. So to do that, you've got this tab up here for map generation. So you select your device. I've got the devices registered here in the account. So you can have up to 4 devices registered into your account. So if you've got more than one Lowrance plotter or Simrad plotter, you can have those registered in here, and then you can then record different maps and load them onto the different devices. So the layer that we want to include, I'm going to include the composition map because I want to be able to see the bottom hardness on the unit itself, and the contours we'll leave at the 3-foot spacing. So if I click generate here, we'll just give it a couple of minutes while it generates it into a mapping file. So it now gives me the option to save it. So all I do is go save, and then I'll choose the card as the destination, and we'll give it a name. So we'll just call it Shepperton, as that's where we were, and just click save. Right, so that file will now be on the card. So all that we need to do quickly is just extract that file. So I've now got the file here. You can see it's saved onto the card called Shepperton. So all I do, double click that, click on extract, and I'm away. So all I now need to do is just take this, plug it into my device, and we'll then be able to review it on the plotter itself.
So this is a facility you can only get with Insight Genesis subscription?
That's it, yeah. You won't get this as the 3 upload. So that map's now ready for me to go out in the water and try and catch some pike.
So Craig, is there any limit to the number of units, say you've got a really big boat that you can use these with, anything like that?
So we allow you to use up to 4 devices, which should be plenty. So you can have 4 devices registered in your account, and then you can download a map and view that on each of those 4 devices.
What about transferring onto here? Obviously the software in there, do they get updates or anything like that? That you need to update to be able to read Insight Genesis if it's a new product?
Yeah, we do software updates. I mean, software updates can be released every few months to add in any new enhancements, hopefully not fix any, well, if we get any bugs, which we hope we don't, it fixes bugs as well. So it is always worth keeping an eye on the support pages on the Lowrance website, because they will make it known that there's a software update available for certain models, and it's just a simple download onto an SD card and plug it into the plotter and it will start to update for you.
Does it automatically just select a file in here to do it?
Yeah, so on the plotters you have a file option, and in there it will give you software update, and you just hit update and it takes about 5 to 10 minutes for it to go through. So it's a nice simple process and doesn't take up too much time at all. Okay, so we've got our recording here loaded onto our little HDS7. I've got it set with the composition map, was the one that we downloaded, so we can see there we've got the areas of the hard and soft ground. And also what you can see is, although we haven't recorded a lot of the insight data, it has gone and downloaded a proportion of a more detailed base map, so we've got a bit more of a reference to overlay our Insight Genesis map onto. So this is, as we saw on the Bing maps, we've got the river with the weir that was coming down into here, and we've got our nice contour information showing our holes, and also some of the areas where we picked up the composition as well. So although we didn't do a great recording, but next time we go out we can do a proper survey of that, and we'll be able to download all that information into the unit.
So Craig, I've made the change from my HDS5 to the HDS7 touchscreen, but there's about 4 years worth of secret big sharp and fishing marks on my old unit. How am I going to be able to get all those marks across to the new unit? Okay,
so with the units you have obviously your SD card slot, so you'll have your SD card in there, and a lot of the units will have, like your HDS5 will have a files option on there, and within that files option you'll have all your save waypoints and things like that. It will show the memory card. So what you can do is you can go into your routes and waypoints. You've got the little option for export, so when you select that you can then choose where you want it how you want it to save it and where you want it to send it to, and so it would send it to the SD card, and then once you've selected your files, so this unit at the moment hasn't got any files saved onto it, but those would then be loaded onto your SD card, and you just be able to take that card out, plug it into your new HDS7, and then again go into that files option, and you'll be able to export them off the card and into the device memory. So Graeme, I think with the HDS7 you're probably going to notice quite a bit of difference to your HDS5. Coupled with our structure scan transducer, you're going to be able to get this nice side imaging sonar, which is going to give you your nice sonar imaging of any wrecks and obstructions on the seabed, but actually looking down on top of them almost. So you're going to find that pretty unique tool for when you're out there hunting for all these really good fishing spots. And with Insight Genesis, you're going to be able to map out all these banks that I think you'll find that don't actually show on some of these charts, because some areas might not have been surveyed for a couple of years, and town banks don't always stay in the same area.
So what happens when the Insight Genesis, that subscription actually runs out, and also the social side of it, because you can share these?
So when your subscription runs out, you're not going to lose all of that valuable data that you've recorded. It's stored, it's cloud-based, so it's stored online. So as long as you can still log into the account, you can still view all the data that you have recorded. All that you would need to do is if you then decide after that 12 months, okay, I want to start recording new data and being able to download it to the plotter, then it'd just be a case you renew the 12-month subscription again. And I'd say it's roughly £70 for that subscription. And with the sharing side of it, where you'll have the ability, we call it social mapping. So when you upload that, you saw earlier on that we had the little icon that you tick whether you want to keep it private or share. So what that will mean is, if you were an example, you were going to take your boat and you were going to go somewhere like Windermere, you've not fished up there before, you haven't got any maps for that area, you can have a quick look on the Insight Genesis store and see if another user has actually surveyed that water, and you could download that then, so it saves you having to go out and map it yourself, and it saves you having to hunt around and see if there's a chart product that exists for that area.
Again, only under the subscription though that's available, I imagine.
Yeah. So ways of obviously purchasing and getting your Insight subscription, you can either buy these little scratch cards from your local chandleries, or you can actually just buy an online subscription straight through the Navico Insight store. So if you just Google inside Genesis, it will allow you to sign up to your account and then purchase your subscription. So I mean, as well as your fishing types, it's also going to be a brilliant tool for your leisure boat users, divers, things like that. I mean, a lot of the leisure users, if they're wanting to find a nice spot to anchor, they'll be able to use the map they've created from inside Genesis to check that areas there's not going to be any snags like rocky bottom.
Or soft, you know, with the anchor drags.
Yeah, that. And also look out for any holes and things like that. And your divers as well, they'll be able to find holes, raised areas where there's going to be a lot of tidal flow, things like that as well.
There's a lot of scope there for anybody with a boat.
That's it, yeah. I mean, one of the brilliant ones will be your inland waterways, canal boat users. They'll be able to go out and create their own maps because it's quite hard to come by a decent map which will give you depth and things like that, unless you use an Ordnance Survey type map.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, Craig, thank you very much for your information. There's a lot of insights, a lot of information here. Definitely, I should be taking one of these home, this little box here. So I'd like to thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Look forward to the next bit of Lowrance kit that's come out. But anyway, for the time being, there's more than enough there for me, and I'm sure for a lot of guys. Thanks for watching the Totally Awesome Fishing Show.